Live.
All right, I will call the January 8th Planning Commission meeting to order. First order of business is to nominate and elect a chairperson. Opening the floor for nominations for chair.
I'll nominate Ron.
Why do you hate me so much?
Because you're so good at your job.
My once a
And,
quarter
and,
job.
and Dave for assistant.
Yeah, do one at a time.
Yeah, we'll do one at a time.
I'll second the.
Okay.
Okay. Any others? If there are no others, close nominations. All those in favor of electing Ron as chair signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right,
I'm sorry.
thank you, Ron. Ron, you can
You're welcome.
take it over from here for nominating vice chair.
Any nominations for vice chair for the coming year? Okay.
That's David.
It is Dave. Any other nominations? And do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further nominations? Please.
Like,
take it
who
easy.
should
All
I
those in
nominate?
favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. So, next up, the approval of our minutes from way back in September. Are there any comments before we approve the meeting, the minutes?
I have a comment. Sorry.
Of course you do.
I usually don't on these. I just had a quick comment for more specification under the draft of the sea level rise adaptation plan, where it says the commissioner spoke briefly about incentives to mitigate development. Most of that map was not based, it was purely speculated, interpolated, and so it's not noted in there whether it was based on actual data or speculation. Does that make sense? So, because it said Director Kirk noted his surprise that the maps showed a lack of water inundation on the ocean side of the island and the lack of projected inundation in the latter, years along the backside of the island. That was in their kind of proposal. It was not actual.
So what would your suggested modification of minutes be?
Since it was,
And I guess, I
Not
think I
yet.
know the explanation, so and I don't know if we want to form this into a note, and I don't know that it was said during the meeting, so if it wasn't said, it actually wouldn't be proper to put it in the minutes. But maybe this was said, maybe it wasn't, that their inundation models were based solely on existing topographical information.
right.
It didn't work in, it didn't model in erosion over time or anything like that.
Right.
Which I think is,
I just don't
something
want
that took-
somebody to read that and say, oh, it's based on pure data. Or misinterpret what data it's represented on. Okay, I guess I'm not making myself clear.
No, you are.
I just don't know what the correction is.
Okay.
And even, it's been now so long ago, I guess it's a problem of doing approvals 4 months later. I don't know if we even talked about the reason that there wasn't any inundation shown around the edges, but that is the reason, that it didn't model in erosion. It was based on existing terrain.
If you want to noodle that, I'm not, these minutes don't get published right away. You can noodle an option to
I'm all
modify
noodles
them.
right now.
Okay, I just don't know what to do with what you've offered.
I know, it's kind of, somebody help me out here on wording.
Even if it's
How about
wording-
this?
Okay.
Director Carr noted his surprise that the maps were based on existing topography with no account for future erosion, and therefore showed, and then you would carry on, a lack of water inundation on the.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Does that do it?
Yeah.
Very good, all right. I will make that adjustment to the minutes.
And let me know if
I'll pull it out
Yeah.
here.
That comes close.
that. Yeah.
I mean, they're all projections anyway, and it's,
But it was during their proposal time, so it was kind of like, here's
Right.
everything, but we have to dig deeper. But I think the significance of those maps, I just didn't want them to weight heavy without further,
Yeah.
contributing
No, I
factors.
think that's and they didn't fix that. I'll just tell you for the benefit of the group while we're talking about it. That was a concern. If you look at the maps, it didn't account for erosion,
Mhm.
didn't account for on either side. So it looked as though if we left everything as it is 50 years from now, the water wouldn't be anywhere in on the front side of the island.
Right.
And they basically said, we can't, to model 50 years of erosion, we can't do it because we don't know what you're gonna do. We can't project in these, from an engineering and modeling standpoint, we can't guess at what your renourishments will be to put it in the model, so we really can't do it. So they added just a descriptive narrative that explained that.
Okay.
This is assuming that the beach is renourished at appropriate levels, and these maps are. So that's now in the narrative of the plan.
Okay. So it's not a static island, we know that.
Yep.
But yes, that would be great. So we have to read that in 2 months?
Yes.
Awesome.
So you have to vote on the minutes as amended. Somebody has to.
Oh.
motion.
Motion to approve as amended?
Thank
We
you.
have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So really, discussion about what we're gonna discuss.
Yeah, you want me to?
Yeah.
So, and this is not, I did want to kind of foreshadow a little bit what I know is coming down the pipe for this group, and then kind of just throw it out to the group to put your thinking hats on in terms of what, if there are other initiatives the group wants to kind of tackle in the next year. I think this is the time to kind of discuss that,
Mhm.
formulate a strategy to do that. I think your plates are going to be full. You've got and I don't know how many of you kind of keep tabs on the city's various meetings, but there have been a lot of meetings by a group called the Community Enrichment Task Force, not an ad hoc committee. And that group it is a completely voluntary group of residents. It's a large group that was, and this project is being done in tandem with the Charleston Area Visitors Bureau. So they've kind of funded this, and it's been a lot of, been very interesting to watch this kind of group unfold, but they have been just asked what needs to be done to improve the quality of life for the residents on the island. That group split into 4 different subcommittees based on topic. So there's kind of an environmental side, there is a short-term rental side. So kind of all of the issues that you will know and are familiar with. And they have come up with a list of, I think at last count it was over 200 recommendations. And all of those are geared at some aspect of the quality of life of residents on the island. And my expectation is, and they haven't made this presentation yet, but it appears that they're going to be presenting at the February council meeting. And I expect that council will take that list of 200 initiatives and divvy it up according to topic. I think public safety issues will go to the Public Safety Committee. I think a lot of their work will come through this group for kind of review, brainstorming, and next steps. So I think that's going to be a fair amount of work dealing with their recommendations. The other thing is the comprehensive plan. That review has been kind of bumped by all the various things that they've had, but that's currently scheduled for April. As you recall, that has a lot of, same kind of things, a lot of strategies, a lot of goals, and I haven't done a full kind of review of both lists, but I do know there's a lot of overlap in the two. So between the comprehensive plan strategies and this community enrichment task force strategies, there's going to be some overlap there. So that's going to be another kind of list of initiatives that the city wants to review and consider some action on. There is also floating out there, and I don't know that parts of this will come to the planning commission, but it could. The other big kind of effort with the city here recently has been the Beach Preservation Ad Hoc Committee. Tim has been acting as a resident volunteer on that group. They also have a number of recommendations that are going to be landing with council, and that's this month. So kind of January, February. And then March is the sea level rise adaptation plan. So all of these are going to be hitting in the first quarter. Each one of them has their own list of initiatives. Not clear to me which group will get what parts of those, but I know that a significant portion will come through this committee for review and recommendation. So I would suggest, and I'd be happy to send as these things are presented, I'll just be kind of forwarding all of these to you. Don't think that all of it's on the planning commission's table. I mean, that's going to be part of that kind of divvying out the strategies will be part of the work, not of this group, but I think it would be helpful to be just familiarized with kind of all these. And you obviously know the comp plan is your product, so I know you're familiar with that. So there's a lot coming. I would say just kind of work towards familiarizing yourself with all the various things, and we'll take it as it comes. Any questions about any of those?
I'm
More to
excited.
come. More to come. Obviously,
I'm
all,
excited.
you all know the comp plan, the sea level rise adaptation plan.
It's going to take some time to review that again.
Yeah.
It's been sitting
Yeah.
for a while.
Yep. Only other news is Tim, David, and Sandy were all reappointed, I think, for 2 or 3 year terms.
2 years.
2 years this week.
Yeah.
2 more years.
2 more years.
You had your choice.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Anything else? Any thoughts, comments, other things that the group should be? I felt bad that this group, you haven't met obviously since September, but there's just been so much other stuff kind of overlapping. I mean, it's all kind of similar work, but so there has been a lot of work happening. It just hasn't kind of bubbled up to this group yet, but I think it's maybe depends on how you look at it. Unfortunately, I think it's all going to hit kind of sequentially back to back to back for you all.
Comprehensive plan, where is that available? Is that online on the website?
I will send you the latest draft
That'd be great.
to everybody, yeah,
Okay.
just so you.
Because I think that was finished before I even joined. So
Is that right? Yeah,
that was
yeah, I knew it was a while,
20
yeah.
Yeah, it was in 2023.
Well, it's stalled.
Yes.
It's dull?
It's stalled.
Stalled,
It did
yeah.
get,
Yeah, and that's part of these things get so kind of heavy and dense with each one of these things that it's like, okay, this is gonna take some unpacking, and then it's like, all right, we got another thing that needs unpacking right before it, so it's kind of the nature of just
Well,
issue
I was
after issue.
kind of wondering, does a lot of these other kind of initiatives really feed into the next revision of the comprehensive plan?
Or how much is it?
Which is.
There's a ton of overlap.
Okay.
I mean, there
It's
really
nice
is. Yeah.
To see, you know,
It's-
a different or committee's perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a ton of overlap, and there's a ton of kind of, and from my perspective, I don't think there's gonna be, I don't believe there's any two of them that are odds with each other. I mean, I don't think any group,
Right.
Nobody's figured out the magic answer yet?
no.
Our plan wins the Dry Award. I think it'll be great.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be kind of a heavier, year for the planning commission, just by the nature of all this stuff hitting back to back.
Is the adaptation plan going to take things from the erosion committee? Does that they kind of mesh a little bit?
And we knew this going in, and this is not a slight on Seaman and Whiteside who did that plan, but that plan was always conceptualized as a very high level, like, hey, take a look, give us a projection, give us kind of a measuring stick, but there are not really a ton of detailed. That is, of all of them, that is by far the lightest. You know, it's kind of like, hey, you need to consider other planning initiatives, you need, so, and then to the kind of contrary, the beach preservation ad hoc committee plan is very granular, as you know. I mean, it gets down to measure the sand this frequently. If it ever gets to this low, do this. I mean, it is down to the cubic yard of sand out there, and what to do in each. So it is by far the kind of most, excuse the pun, but the most granular. And the sea level rise adaptation plan is the other end of the spectrum in terms of high level, about a foot. Here are some key points to look at. Here are some key initiatives to plug into. So you kind of got the two ends of the spectrum in terms of detail and specificity.
Because I think the ad hoc meets with the workshop next week.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be, so that plan goes from the working committee up to city council. City council has been so married to the beach issues. I don't know that they would kind of parse parts of it out to other committees, because that's kind of been their own little baby, so I think they'll kind of keep all of that. But you all know, I mean, things will come up to them periodically, and they'll say, hey, we need just like the sound, you know, the noise ordinance came up, and they said, you know, that's a detailed thing. We need some more detail-minded people to look at it. So that just kind of came through the planning commission. The same could happen with that beach plan, but I'd be a little bit surprised, because that council has been living it, breathing it, dealing with it day to day for a year. So I think they're kind of, it's very fresh on them. So unless they want kind of more eyes on it, which they may, but I think that was what they thought the beach preservation group would do, would be a deeper dive to recommend to them. So I don't think it'll come back, but it could.
I think it'll be a good presentation if anybody, that was one to watch.
Yeah, that will
That would be a
be,
good one, or go to.
that's next Tuesday. That's, yeah,
Oh, it's,
this coming Tuesday. And actually, I can send you all, I'll send everybody a copy of that kind of list of recommendations, but there's a written plan, again, kind of a high-level plan. I mean, not a very long plan, a lot of detail in it, but it'll be presented and discussed at Tuesday night. And maybe, maybe the path forward is just wait to see over the next few months what comes through the planning commission. I think that, based on what comes or what doesn't come, the rest of the year's work will kind of, it'll show itself to you of what you need to work on. But if not, talk about other initiatives after that process.
I'm just debating whether just to ask you alone, I'll go ahead and ask you up front.
Shoot.
A while back, we kind of got into a discussion about the parking lot. What was it, 2 years ago? Alternative uses, nothing ever came of it, but from that thing and going through the comprehensive plan, I had a question. Has anybody considered or looked into doing like a solar farm microgrid in that area? Has that ever come up in any of your discussions?
I don't think so. Kind of over the parking?
Yes. So it wouldn't just, you'd still
Well, you
keep
still
the
have the
parking,
parking.
you'd still have the parking.
Hey, Sandy.
And I don't know. I don't know if that ever came up.
It
in
has,
any-
it has not come up. It hasn't come up. I do see at the Sierra Nevada factory in Asheville when I go, it's what they do. It is very cool. It's like covers your parking and generates some power all the same.
Yeah.
I'm not there to drink beer.
Right, yeah,
Just to
no,
tour with my
Just a
kids. Promise. Sandy, you
Sure,
asked if it was
the Appalachian
4:30.
Trail is around somewhere near where you are.
You're early.
You asked if it was 4:30 or 4. We clarified, and you came at 4:30 anyway.
I just woke up from my nap.
Oh,
Not
okay.
my fault.
All right.
See, I didn't know that was an option.
I think that's a great idea. So, in terms of that parking lot, there has been another discussion about this building, what to do with this building.
Yeah.
That site has been talked about, a possible site for relocating City Hall. I don't think that site gained much traction with council. That has been talked about, and then the fact that it's a deed restricted parcel. Anything that gets done has to be signed off on by the state PRC because we bought it with grant money from the PRC.
Yeah.
But they generally have said, as long as you maintain the parking, which that obviously would do, they wouldn't have any issue with it.
Okay. Yeah, I had gone into a lot of detail. Is it feasible or not? But that's why I figured I'd ask if somebody's even looked into it and said, it's out of the picture, or
Yeah.
is it even worth looking into? But
We did just get it, the city and Matt specifically got a grant to add solar panels to the public works.
I saw that one. That's what made me
And I kind of wonder
rethink it.
if there's like public money for stuff like that.
Well-
I know there was.
And there was a company, and this was a couple of years ago, why I never brought it up then, that was actually looking at a coastal location to test out hurricane-proof solar panels. I don't know whatever happened. I saw the article, like I said, it was dated probably 6 or 7 years ago, so I figured it was, a little bit late for it.
Yeah.
But again, it was like, do those opportunities exist? And I don't even know who would do something, look into it, so I figured I'd bring it up.
That's an interesting thought. And again, the Sierra Nevada structure, just kind of going in, I mean, it's very robustly constructed. You can just look at it and tell it would withstand, any storm. Because it is a big sail up there, but it is
Yeah.
very stoutly constructed, massive steel beams holding it up. It's a neat project. So Sandy, to kind of paraphrase where we've been, I would say there are a lot of plans bubbling up to council right now. I think a lot of those plans could have components that come back through the planning commission for review and analysis and maybe recommendation. So I think I've kind of just asked the group to keep your eye out on those different initiatives. I'll send what we have on each of them so far. And then I think the group as a whole would just anticipate, getting feedback from council and these groups on what they would like the planning commission to review specifically, and then just be in a position to be able to react to that. I think we've kind of said, based on what we get or don't get back through this group on that, from those plans, the group would talk about future initiatives kind of after we see what happens with each of those initiatives. But it's the Community Enhancement Task Force has a list of almost 200 recommendations, primarily geared towards quality of life for residents, so a lot of recommendations out of that. The Sea Level Rise Adaptation Plan, again, it's a very high-level plan, but there's some stuff in there that certainly could come back through the Planning Commission. There is a Beach Preservation Ad Hoc Committee, which is giving specific recommendations to council next Tuesday. And then we have the comprehensive plan tentatively planned for April. Also has a full
With council
gamut of, yeah,
working.
and a lot of strategies and suggestions in that. So there's a lot bubbling up currently that I think will come back to this group in one way or another.
The Waterway Boulevard project has changed a couple times, or at least once.
Yep,
The,
that is in the Sea Level Rise Adaptation Plan. That's in there. That one's really, I mean, that is, for all intents and purposes, that one's underway. That's being designed. The city has a grant to do that work. It is very much geared at addressing some component of sea level rise on the backside of the plan. I mean, on the backside of the island.
Well, I knew the resort was heavily engaged with that and
They are,
working
Yep.
with the city in
Yep.
tandem with that one.
yeah, for the benefit of the group, that's elevating that path adjacent to Waterway Boulevard. That happens to be, if you look at the inundation models in the back of the sea level rise adaptation plan, a lot of it's on the backside of that island between 21st and 41st. That plan would elevate the path where it's really low to at least an elevation of 7 feet above sea level, which at its highest is about 18 inches off the ground, and stop, if we get these king tides that would come up and inundate into the interior of the island, it will stop that from happening. And that's already underway, and what's Sandy is kind of referencing, a portion of that works because it's happening on the golf course. They're about to tear up the golf course starting in March. They were doing their own work, and Wild Dunes has been agreeable to letting us kind of weave in their berms that would give that level of protection on the golf course and not let it inundate in past the golf course. So that'll actually start happening. They'll break ground in March on that.
I think it was set to start like this last year, but with that storm on December 17th, if I'm not mistaken, that changed everything.
Yeah,
It came-
it was going to be at an elevation of 6 feet
Yeah.
above sea level. We had that storm, we looked at it, and that storm got to like 6'9". Like, well, that wouldn't have done much good. So now we're going to go to 7 feet. There's an extra 900,000, but it would have protected against, it was, I think in the end, probably money well spent, especially if FEMA is willing to help us out, which they were.
Another quick ask, you may have already talked about it. The beach renourishment of is it from 6th Avenue to Breach Inlet that's getting ready to kick off?
So so there's actual work that's going to happen between 9th and Breach Inlet.
Oh, okay.
There's then a second project that's going to happen on the heels of that up in Wild Dunes with a shoal out off of Beechwood East.
Is
There's
that?
two different-
is-
two different-
Are they starting up like this spring or in the next
Yes. They're,
couple of
better,
weeks?
better be, they've claimed before the end of January over here. They have never come close to meeting a single time constraint they've put on themselves. So we are hoping it will be February when they'll start on the Isle of Palms. But they're done with, they did Sullivan's, they are done with Sullivan's. Well, actually, not completely done with Sullivan's, very close to being done with Sullivan's.
And then the city is applying for the big permit for the offshore dredging.
That's correct.
Date to be determined.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, that,
Wheels
it was
spins.
planned for 3 years ago. We have accelerated that to be in a position to do it in 2 years if necessary. A lot of it will be, the need for that project will be largely driven by the success of the two projects that are getting ready to be done here this winter. So if the two projects are successful, it could delay that back to the 3-year term that we originally had thought. But we'll see how well Mother Nature cooperates. Hadn't been friendly the last 18 months.
No, there's a lot of sand movement.
Yeah. Been rough. Anything else? That's all I have for the group. Think it'll be a full year, I believe. Just wanted to, been a while since y'all have gotten together. Want to reintroduce everybody. Be sure you all knew each other. Get.
I have to come out with the name tags again, so.
See.
Hello, my name is Joel.
Yeah. I don't have anything else, Chairman.
If there's no other business, have a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
and a motion and a
Second.
second. All in favor?